Welcome to Beyond the Lines. I'm here at Wine Connection in Sukhumvit 47 at Rain Hill. And today I'll be talking to American writer Jim Newport about his latest release, Yankee Dragon, about the Hollywood industry, his career as Hollywood production designer. Let's go talk to Jim. Hi Jim, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Keith.
Yeah. Jim, when did you first come to Thailand?
I came here in the early 80s, and it was mostly, I think, Bangkok on that first trip, but I did get down to Pattaya, and then eventually Phuket, which has been my home now for full-time for 10 years. And ever since that time that I saw it for the first time, I knew that's where I wanted to settle in. Yeah. I'd been looking for an island. I was looking for an escape from, I was a Hollywood production designer for quite a while, and that's a hard job to relax from, because you work intensely for 4, 5, 6 months, and you get 3 months off, and what do you do with those 3 months, you know? So I wanted a place that I could go and do something else, you know, to unwind, and in the back of my head, writing was something I wanted to try. And I felt I needed the serenity of a place that I found in Phuket to do that. You know?
Relaxing, de-stress, and, pick up your pen.
I mean,
and write.
you know what it was like back in those days. I mean, there was nothing. You know, at night I'd be writing with a candle. You know, and if I was lucky, some water buffaloes went by because there was no traffic.
Yes, fantastic. It was really great. Today everything's so built up, and you really have to struggle to find somewhere where it's tranquil.
I go away now. But no, I still write there, and I'm still very, very comfortable doing that and so forth. But I also now spend a couple weeks every year at a little farmhouse in France.
Okay. Good. That sounds nice too. With some nice wine. I hope. And tell me about Vampire of Siam, because that's an interesting story. Vampires and lurking streets and haunts of Bangkok.
Yeah, my beloved Ramone, the Vampire of Siam. I was trying to get a film made in Phuket, an ecological adventure, and I was taking it around Hollywood to all the low-budget companies that I thought would do this kind of a thing, and nobody understood it. They didn't know what an ecological adventure was, but they said, we make horror films, that's our niche. If you brought us a vampire film, we could talk. Well, it wasn't a vampire script, it became a vampire book, and now there's 4 of them out, and it's been a wonderful ride, and probably the next book I write will be a 5th of a vampire book, which I know what it is because I've written a short story, which is, it's the vampire in Phuket. So,
okay. Same vampire.
Same vampire comes to Phuket, because my vampire evolved into becoming a hitman. You know, that was one of the things that happened in his
well, he's up all night. He
in his
well.
career.
He had to do something with his time.
Exactly. He wanted to do something. He wanted to contribute to society. So he became a hitman, and he gets a hit in Phuket. You know, he goes down to take care of this guy. You know, and the short story is called Freedom, and it's up on my website. You guys should take a look at it, because it's the lead into the next book. It's really fun.
How old would he be now?
Oh, I think he was 175 when the first book came out, and that's now about 10, 15 years, so he's about 190, you know. He'll be approaching 200 soon. He'll have his big 200th birthday celebration.
Maybe that could be the launch of his new escapades in Phuket. And what about is vampires by nature? They don't come up on film, do they? So is there the photos, images?
You know, Keith, I deliberately stayed away from all of the vampire shtick in my first book. I read everything. I read Anne Rice. I read everything I could read. But I just decided I didn't need those rules. I didn't need garlic and crosses, and I just stayed away from them, and mirrors and all of that kind of stuff. I'd said he's immortal, and in order to stay alive, he has to drink the blood of a living being, a living human, preferably, and he has to avoid the sunlight, so he sleeps at night. And he likes to sleep in a coffin just because he's very comfortable in it, and he feels secure. And that was it as far as my rules were, you know. Later on in the fourth book, I needed a photograph of this guy to come about from the turn of the century, which proved that he was alive for like 100 years. And I needed a photograph, so I said, well, why not? He could be photographed, you know. So I've stayed away from all of the other rules. Everybody seems to have a whole bunch of rules. They seem to make them up themselves too.
Great. Well, I look forward to seeing the next installment of Vampire of Siam.
I do too.
Great. Is there a possibility of it becoming a movie at some point?
Well, movie rights were sold fairly early on to Millennium Pictures, and Millennium has those rights. It's up to them to slot it into their calendar. I worked for them just recently here with Jason Statham on Mechanic 2, The Resurrection, and the producer on the set was the producer who's been assigned to the project, and we talked quite a bit about it. You know, so who knows?
Because your essential your career is a production designer.
Yeah, that's what I did for 40 plus years, and still do. Still do. That's the look of a film, basically, the production designer.
So, which would give you a good perspective visually for the people reading your books.
People who read my books, the comments are generally he writes with a filmmaker's visual sense of the style, and I also like the I've written scripts as well myself, and a script is a very short little piece of work. You know, it's got all the type is right down the middle of it. It takes you 2 hours to read it, just like it does to watch it. And books allow me the luxury of describing everything in the room, everything, every piece of the set. You know, basically the setting.
And you've apart from in production design, you've actually appeared in one or more.
No, occasionally what'll happen is you're on a film set and they'll need somebody to go walk through the door, so you get an extras little bit on it just for the fun of it. But on Cheech and Chong's movie that I did called Nice Dreams, Tommy came to me one day after I had designed and built this magnificent marijuana nursery on a tennis court. You know, it was just this incredible set.
Also, originally was a set.
Oh, it was a set. It was all artificial marijuana. I mean, my art department, I'd never seen them so dedicated to a project. You know, they just had the best time. Anyway, we're looking at this magnificent
inspirational.
set. We're looking at this incredible set, and Tommy Chong says to me, "We shoot tomorrow, Jimmy. There's something missing." And I'm thinking, God, what's missing? Everything's here. He says, "I need the genius who does this for us. Cheech and I couldn't do this. I need the mad scientist who runs this lab, medical lab,
under the swimming. Marijuana. It was in the swimming pool.
Well, that was the greatest thing. Was that Tommy said, "I want this to be covered with a canvas that's a painting of a swimming pool from the air. So when the aerial surveillance comes over looking for marijuana in the jungles and the forests and all this, it looks like a swimming pool from the air." Tommy said, "I never thought we'd be able to pull that off, but we did, and it was great." And over the years, because I'm in that scene, I meet people and they go, "You're the guy in the Cheech and Chong movie, right?" And they go, "Dude, that was so cool, the swimming pool cover, man. I painted the top of a garage and put it over my marijuana plants up in Big Sur, and the cops never found it." You know?
It was a genius idea. I remember seeing you in that movie.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do. I don't get recognized much anymore, but the people who saw me in that movie saw me again and again in that movie because they would watch it over and over again.
Well, I heard rumor that they might be going out to make another movie.
I got a script just last week from them for a new movie that they haven't signed off on it yet, but they wanted me to take a look at it and let them know what it would involve. And I said, it's pretty big, guys, you know. But hopefully these guys haven't done a movie together in about 15 years. So hopefully this will be the first one when they come back.
You were very into music yourself.
I am. In Hollywood, for a while there, I had my own band, and I would write. I was a singer-songwriter, and I would perform only material that I controlled, that I wrote. It was very difficult because my musicians were working guys that would go off, and then I would go off. So we would get together for 3 weeks, and then we all had gigs, and we're gone for 6 months, and then we're back again for 3 weeks. I left that when I came here.
Kind of hard to keep everybody together.
And I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed the heck out of it. And when I came here for the first time, was the first time I ever jammed. And I think it was like you and guys like Dr. Blues and Jeff with the Soy Dogs that allowed me to step on a stage and do Blues and G. And I found out that it was a lot of fun. And I found out that there was this core of incredible musicians in Bangkok, and also now in Phuket.
Well, there is the scene since I've been here. The scenes in Rome, local Thai blues bands, and today are they're fantastic, and they're playing it incredibly. There's some real talent, and of course the foreign guys that have been playing around for a while are still playing around. So it's great. Very cool.
No, I tell people all over the world, I said, listen, if you want to have a good night out and hear some good blues and some good music, go to Bangkok.
Jim, I brought an instrument. I brought my melodeon, and maybe you'd give us a couple of bars of blues.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
There is nothing I could do if you leave me here to cry. There is nothing I could do if you leave me here to cry. You know my love will follow you until the day I die. Till that day I die. Yeah.
Jim Newport, ladies and gentlemen.
Jimmy Fame.
Jimmy Fame
Oh.
on stage. Jimmy Fame. Jim, tell me about Yankee Dragon. This is your latest book release, isn't it?
Yeah, this one here, I'm very, very proud of this. This just came out. This is literally available now on Amazon in all formats, and there'll be an audiobook out shortly as well, which is for me a treat, because that's the first one of my books that's out in audio form as well. But this book was something that I thought was lost. I wrote this book 25 years ago when I was working on a project in Japan, and I never published it. I never got it out to anybody other than a few people saw it, liked it, but I was basically becoming a Bangkok writer, a Thai writer, and this was my deals were with Asia Books, and Asia Books didn't know how to market a book that was set in Japan at that time. So I put it away. Well, frankly, I lost it, you know, because it was written on an old computer that no longer exists, and the formats don't exist and all that stuff. I went to Japan this spring just for a trip to take my wife to look around Japan. I looked up an old friend, and she and I know, had shared this experience, and I had given her a copy of it. And I said, do you any chance have a copy of this? And she did.
Oh, fantastic.
Like, oh my God. So we got it scanned, and I got it back in my hands, and I went through it, and I reformatted it for contemporary market, et cetera, and so forth. And I sold it to this company, California Times Publishing, as the first book deal that I have with them. So I'm very, very happy that it's out. It's something that was I thought
back
was
from the abyss. It
back
was
from
lost.
It was lost. It's a lost book.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah. And it's a lot of fun because it's in the same theme as Tinseltown, which is a standalone book. Basically, it's Tinseltown and Chasing Jimmy are not obviously the vampire books. So those are standalone books, and Tinseltown is a Hollywood novel, and I like to write Hollywood novels. This is another Hollywood novel, even though it's about making a movie in Japan. It's the experience of Hollywood filmmakers dealing with Japan and all of those
there was a lot going
culture clashes.
There was a lot going on in Japan at that time when American Hollywood companies or movies were actually
1995, there were two big incidents happening on the different continents, and happening in Los Angeles was the writer's strike that crippled the industry for 2 or 3 years. A lot of people, myself included, found themselves out of work for 2 years, and a lot of people left the business. It was very, very rough. In Japan, if you were in Japan, you were now in an economy that was, the bubble boom was going on. I mean, Japan Inc. was, this much footage where we are, Keith, would be $1 million. Right here, and we're surrounded by our couches and chairs. Yeah, if you were in Tokyo.
A year.
Well, $1 million to buy it, I mean, just that, So if you were making films, Black Rain was being made over there before we got there, and it was an incredibly frustrating experience because the costs were astronomical, and the dealing with the culture, the ancient culture, was so hard for Hollywood.
What
to
year
accept.
was this?
This was 95, 96, in that area, early 90s. It kept on going until about 97. I think the bust was around 97, around the same time. As
the Asian crisis around 97.
So I was on a film project over there that was facing these same problems. Everything, the costs were running out of control. People didn't know how to deal with the Japanese counterparts that they were working with, and And I was just fascinated at the stuff that was going on around me. So I started to keep a journal, and the journal turned into a book, turned into a
so there's
fictional
a lot of
fictional
history
book.
in this. It's a great title, Yankee Dragon.
Yankee Dragon.
It says it all.
Well, Yankee Dragon was actually one of the names we came up for the movie at the time, because the movie was about a baseball player that gets sent over to Japan, American baseball player. So he's a Yankee Dragon. So, but that wasn't the title of the movie. The movie was actually Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck.
Oh yeah, with Tom Selleck, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the film. That was the real film that I was working on.
Yeah. A Rotten Day in Paradise. I love
Tinseltown, another Rotten Day in Paradise.
It's fantastic, fantastic. I like the way you connect music and Hollywood, and because you were there, you were behind, and it's really behind the scenes. So there's a lot of history, but a lot of truth.
Yeah.
Being told in your books.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I talk about in Tinseltown is that my career started in the 70s in Hollywood, and that was the Roger Corman days. You know, the first low-budget movies were breaking the barriers of the studio-controlled pictures. So kids like us were able to make movies, you know, and get a lot of experience doing it. But those 30 years or so of the films that I worked on were incredible, because things really happened in front of you, in front of the camera, in front of us. All special effects, visual effects. There were no visual effects. It was all special effects, and these were things that happened right in front of the camera. If the camera didn't film it, it didn't happen. You know, so we had the exposure to the most amazing. There was no CGI, so we were exposed to the most amazing stunts, effects, and things like that. We would go to incredible locations, you know, because you had to. You know. I think it was just so much more fun. You know, I mean, I work on big movies today. I worked on Mechanic 2, The Resurrection recently here, and 60% of that movie is a giant green screen, you know, wrapping around a stage set. Now, we still do the stage set. We still design what's on that green screen, but we're not physically present, you know, in that world anymore, you know, and it's a shame, and I think these young guys here who are working for you are missing out on something that they would have really enjoyed.
Jim, what's your advice for new writers trying to release a book, getting a publishing deal?
Well, the first thing that people always ask me is, how do you do it? How do you write a book? I mean, I've got an idea and I want to do all this stuff, and I say, you see this, and you see this, make sure you always have a little notebook and a pen with you, because you never know when that idea is going to come, and you want to put it down. And then when you're ready to sit in front of the computer, you've got your notes. You know, keep a file and throw every thought about a book that's percolating in your brain into it. When you're ready, you don't have to have the book plotted out. None of my books that I've written here, when I sat down to write them, did I know how they would end. I didn't know how they would end. You know, I knew who the characters were. I knew what the setting was, and I knew how it started out and what the point of the book was, you know, but I didn't know the trip it was going to go on. And for me, that's the most fun, because you're really learning the story as you write it, you know, and it's like, and you wake up in the middle of the night.
It's evolving as you write it.
Yeah, and you wake up in the middle of the night with these crazy ideas, or you write stuff that you don't remember because maybe you consumed something while you were writing it, you know, because I do a lot of writing in France.
It's quite possible.
And I must admit, there's a lot of, well, in France, when I go over there every year, I spend about 2 weeks of doing serious writing. There's a bit of wine that's consumed in that point in time, you know, and I sometimes look at the pages the next day and I go, where did that come from? You know, it's like, wow. You know, then I realized, oh yeah, that church bell was ringing outside that cafe, and suddenly that church bell ringing outside that cafe is now in my story for a reason. You know, stuff like that. Just you go, how did I ever think of that? Oh yeah, that's what happened. You know, so it's just enjoy the fun of writing a book. Make sure you, once you start it, that you continue to religiously write. You know, don't stop, don't give up. You know, you got to just write every day, and you've got to get the damn thing done. You know?
And reading other authors that might inspire you.
Reading authors that inspire you is always terrific. That's what I do all the time. You know, I now carry a Kindle loaded with all my favorite authors. And
who would be one of your favorite authors?
Well, right now it's a guy by the name of Richard Stark, who is actually a synonym for the writer Donald Westlake. He wrote a whole series of pulp books called about a character called Parker. And there's about 28 of them. I'm up to about book number 26 right now. And they're just the most fun. You know, and there was a movie made recently where Jason Statham played Parker with J-Lo, with Jennifer Lopez. So that may lead to more of those movies, which would be kind of fun. I also read Lee Child's the Reacher books, you know. I read Michael Connelly, who writes Hollywood homicide stories. I read James Lee Burke, and I read James Ellroy. These are the guys that I read.
I like James Ellroy too.
Very James nice. Ellroy, I met him. Okay. And I met him when I was about to start chasing Jimi. And I went to a book signing of James Ellroy's, because James Ellroy writes about a fictional Los Angeles in which Frank Sinatra is in the Casa Nostra, he's in the mafia, and he takes a baseball bat to Sammy Davis Jr. and stuff like that, right? Now, it's not true. It could be true, but it's nobody's ever really got that on paper, right? Except he writes it in his books. And so I met him. I stood in line at a book signing, and I said, James Ellroy, I'm Jim Newport. It'll lead to a better story in a second. And I said, how do you get away with what you do about these real characters? He goes, well, number one, they're public figures. Number two, they're dead. So have at them. Right? I said, wow, I've just been given the blessing to write about Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah,
right? But then he saw my book, because I had the vampire with me, right? And he said, Jim Newport, I went to a great Halloween party at your house, you know. And then I was like, they started talking about all the people he met at my Halloween party, James Woods and
LA
Mike
parties
Wallace.
were notorious.
Yeah, they were absolutely. My Halloween parties were incredible. Which was, but it's a story point in Tinseltown.
Crosby, Stills and Nash stories from Hollywood parties and the Grateful Dead and stuff.
Yeah, but Halloween parties, the Hollywood Halloween parties that I threw were legendary. You know? And he had been to one, and that's what he remembered. He never forgot the name, Jim Newport. You know?
Yeah, well, Halloween parties. There's definitely a connection between that and Vampires of Siam.
Yeah, we've done some Halloween stuff here in Bangkok. We did a Halloween tour of the Vampire of Siam actual sites one year. We had a big bus that went around. It was great fun.
Jim, you've been nominated for an Emmy in the past. Any other awards you've achieved recently?
Well, the Emmy, I was very, very proud of that. There was a nomination for a Hallmark Hall of Fame called The Piano Lesson, and that was great. And I lost it to the guy who started me out in the business, a production designer named Roger Mouse. And I thought, well, if I'm going to lose it to anybody, I'll lose it to him, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. That was great.
Oh, fantastic.
Then 2 years ago here in Thailand, at the Thailand Destination Film Festival, they gave me a special award, which was really cool, which was for my contributions to Thai cinema. You know, and I think that's because I've been making movies here in one way or another for almost 20 years. You know? And a lot of times I kind of get people's ear in Hollywood and say, you should shoot that in Thailand, you should shoot that in Thailand. And they do. So I think that's what they were responding to.
So a lot of contribution to the Thai film industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. Yeah.
Well, which is nice. It's the country we live in. Jim, I know you're involved in a charity. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, after the tsunami, when I was in Phuket and so forth, I went out and raised some money and brought some money back to help out in the community and stuff. But I was so impressed by one group, and that was the Rotary Club of Patong, that I've now become not a member yet, but I'm a fringe guy who goes
honorary.
I mean, they're looking for me to sign up, but I keep finding excuses. But I go to as many meetings as I can, and I contribute to all of the events that they do. We've done a lot of book kind of signings and stuff where all of the money goes to their really good charities, and they work with a lot of kids, you know, underprivileged kids in Phuket. They're
very good
terrific
cause.
Bunch of guys.
Yeah, great cause. Thank you for being on the show. And
it's been a pleasure, Keith.
Yeah, thank you. Would you sing us out?
Blues and G.
Blues and G. Yeah, I got one of those.
Every day, I got the blues. Every day, I got the blues. It's you I love, it's you I had to lose. Nobody loves me, nobody seems to care. Nobody loves me, nobody seems to care. bad luck and trouble, you know I had my share. Yeah.
Jim Newport, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy fame. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, buddy.
Great to see you. Good
You
to see
too.
you. Yeah.